But I was thinking about something. I want to talk about it since clearly I'm not asleep. And yeah. So earlier yesterday morning, since it's now a new day, earlier yesterday morning, I was doing what I was doing, but I was leaving out of this store, right? And I overheard a conversation where the people were talking about if you do people right, then they'll do right back unto you. They'll give back unto you, right? I don't believe that's always true. From personal experience, but then just looking at other scenarios and situations, right? The title of this video is The Remnant versus the Majority because of this mindset, right? So, for instance, let's say, let's first use the example of Christ, right? Christ did all of these good things while he was on earth. All of these good things for people, was healing all of these people and doing all of these different things. And at the end of his life, people chose a sinner, a thief, over him. Do you know all the good he was doing for people? And they still chose a thief over him? Then let's look at more of the Bible, right? A lot of people will always take word of the majority over a smaller group, right? So let's look at the instance of victims versus predators, right? If there's a large network of people that have chosen to come together to mistreat others, right? And they have the resources, right? Because everybody worships people, that have resources, right? If you have resources, if you can hear me, please let me know. How you doing? If you have resources, right, then people want to take your word for everything, right? People are more fearful of people with money than you can imagine, which is crazy. And I won't say they are now. I believe that veil or that yoke that was on people's neck has changed, right? Has shifted. It's not exactly the same anymore. But there are still quite a few people who worship and idolize the person with the resources, right? If you can hear me, let me know, please. Who worship the person with resources over the person who might not have the resources but could have experienced something at the hand of the person with the resources. Hope y'all following me on that. But because of mindsets like that, or because of the fact that people believe, the majority of people believe that if you do good to others, others will do good unto you. And that is in the word, right? It's not necessarily that if you do good unto this set of people, that this set of people is going to do good unto you, right? It could come from somebody else entirely, right? It could come from a completely different place, a completely different area, right? However, it's not always the fact that if you do good unto others, you're going to receive good back from those people. There was so much good that God did throughout the earth and throughout the world, and the people still chose to crucify him. And of course, it was in his purpose. For all of those who are going to bring that up, it was part of his purpose to be sacrificed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But he died for people who were ungrateful for the good that he did. And all his life, he been fighting for love. Think about it. He has been fighting just to be loved. Fighting to show the people that he created and that he established that he loves them, and loves them so much he was willing to give them another chance. them so much he was willing to give them another chance. When you think about the remnant, right, versus the majority, right? Because so many people feel like, oh, you know, I can check these boxes. I did this, I did that, and blah, 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 blah. I gotta be one that's gonna make it. And until you get up there to talk to God, you don't even know if you'll be the one to make it. And the fact that the Bible talks about a remnant, that's a small amount. That means that was a small amount who got it right out of the majority. And everybody's like, oh, if everybody's saying it, gotta be some truth to it. And for this talk purposes, right? Because people love to manipulate what I say. I'm not saying that if there's an abuser or if there's someone that has taken advantage or whatever the case may be, that we're not to discern or take heed to all of the voices that are speaking up saying that, you know, something devastating or tragic happened to them, right? Oh, please stay over there, babies. Hey. Y'all, I love seeing deer. I love seeing deer. But I'm not saying that we aren't to listen to them, right? But even when we look at the remnant versus the majority, it was a small amount of people who got it right. Just a small amount of people that were preserved, that were put to the side, right? Even when Elijah thought he was there by himself, he wasn't there by himself, but it was still only a small number, only 7,000 people that God had called and put to the side. Elijah thought he was by himself, that he was the last one. He was taking and dealing with all of this pressure, all of these attacks from the enemy, right? Take this hat off. He was having to deal with all of that. And God was like, no, it's not just you. I got some others out there too. But sometimes when you are doing certain things or you're trying to establish certain things and it's just you versus the majority will do everything in their power to try to convince you that you are wrong or you're not doing this right or it's not working right now because everybody else did it this way and you over here trying to do it this way. You're on the wrong path. God's not going to use you, blah, 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 blah. And that's not always true. Most of the people that God used were exactly everything that man today wouldn't have picked. Man today wouldn't have even picked God, if we're going to be honest. Yep. Man today would not have even chose God. They think they would. But if you read the word and you see how God was living in the exact same manner that people talk down on, right? People wouldn't have chose God because he wouldn't have had the look, the aesthetic of what people wanted. People have been groomed to believe that people in ministry are supposed to be just these extremely wealthy people. And it doesn't mean that they didn't have wealth. But if you read the word and see what they're supposed to be doing with the tithes and offering and how the tithes and offering is supposed to be split with the poor, the widows, the homeless, and y'all wondering why all y'all favorites have acquired what they have, they've been stealing from God. They've been stealing from God and stuff in their pockets. And it's scripture that talks about that. They have been stealing from God and stuff in their pockets. I just seen something earlier and it was showing just the different things, right, that people acquire due to ministry. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But at what point is it excessive? what point is it excessive? Especially if they are rising up and the people in their congregation or their flock are not also rising with them. If the people in their community who don't have the resources are not also being helped or assisted as well. That's what the tithe was for. Yeah, ministry is supposed to be paid as well. There's a payment as well. But the storehouse was supposed to help the flock. I don't know. That was just a thought I was sitting on from earlier. Like, that's not always true. That just because you give or you help others, because people love to bring up stuff that I say it all the time because they do it all the time. But people love to bring up talking points or something that I may have said and they may have an opinion on it. And instead of having a conversation directly with me, they'll have it with everybody else besides me. But they'll just wait until I'm around to have the conversation. I don't know why people are afraid to say, hey, you said this XYZ yesterday or whatever the case was, and I don't completely agree with it. Okay, what do you believe? What do you think? Let's talk about it. What do you think? What do you believe? At the end of the day, I'm not trying to force you to change your mind, right? I can share with you what I believe that God gives me and shares with me. And if you feel like it's something that you can utilize or apply to your life, then that's great. If you feel like it's not something that you can utilize or apply to your life, guess what? That's okay too. It's not going to be the end of the world. Either way. But a lot of people would hear something and they'll be like, oh no, I can't use that. You can learn stuff from your enemies. Even the serpent had wisdom. You can learn stuff from your enemies. People that are in opposition of you. Hey, how you doing? Like, hopefully you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me. Cause I just been talking. I might or might not do this over tomorrow, being that you can hear me in my car anyway, but that's whatever. But it's not always true that if you give, things are going to be given back to you. That's not always true. Sometimes the people who give the most get the least. Yep. Sometimes, excuse me, the people who give the most get the least. And the ones who take the most receive the most. Ain't that interesting? Ain't that interesting? People who are literally out here trying to snatch your souls and everything else get the most. And while the people that are out here trying to help you see that that is what is taking place, y'all can't stand them. Don't listen to them. And that's the exact same attitude that a lot of people had with Christ. People couldn't stand Jesus. There are a lot of people who also love Jesus as well, right? Yeshua, whichever name you call him by, right? Lord, somebody gonna have a video talking about if the name matters. I can see it now. I can see it now. The powers of the name. You should know the name. Shut up. Shut up. Listen, all I'm saying is, if you can't hear me, let me know, please. How you doing? All I'm saying is, if the Bible talks about it being a remnant, it's not always the case that the majority is always right. Because if the majority was always right, I'm pretty sure God would have selected more than just the remnant. The Bible talks about um, the granules of sand, right? Vast amount of people. Now that you're using the sand on the beach, right? Counting all the sand on the beach. Lots and lots of people, right? But still only a remnant is going to be chosen. But the world will tell you that the majority is always right, even when the majority is wrong. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. Maybe you disagree, and that's cool. I'm just sharing my thoughts. Sometimes you'll give and you get nothing back physically. You can give and you get something back that's uh not tangible always, right? Sometimes the fact that you're giving in itself gives you something, right? And I mean that in the way that when you give to others or when you help others, it makes you feel good. It makes you want to do it more, even if all you got was a thank you, right? Like the simple things, the small things. Something as simple as someone holding the door for you and you say thank you, or you holding the door for somebody and they say thank you versus them not saying thank you, right? That thank you matters. That thank you matters. So when they don't say thank you, it's like, dang, you feel like you was entitled to have the door open for you. Nobody had to do that. I'm just using that as a random example. That was the first one that came to my mind, right? But that's the similar feelings or emotions sometimes when it comes to helping people. Like, we are not called to help everybody, but it's still nice to have that acknowledgement. I think I was listening to something earlier. I don't know where. I think it was on the more political stuff though, but they was talking about giving credit where credit is due and all these other things. And I was just like, I really wasn't like nothing. I was just kind of smirking, like, oh, okay. Because a lot of this stuff sounds like some stuff that I said a couple years ago when I first started speaking or talking about different things, right? Like, the credit that we get, the workers, the laborers, like, yeah, some of us get the immediate, thank you, you helped me. Oh, excuse me. You helped me through this or with this. And then there are others who do not, right? There are some people who don't get that for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason might be, but some people just genuinely don't get that. And it doesn't mean it's going to stop them from giving if that's what they are led to do. But it's just the simple fact that a thank you or an appreciation, anything, it makes a person feel good. It makes people feel good. But you can hold the door for 20 people and you take count and realize that only two of them actually said thank you. But because the other 18 said, well, she didn't hold the door for us, why I gotta say thank you? Or why would I say anything? And you held the door or whatever for them 18 people, but they lie or they dismiss you speaking up about them not saying thank you, they're gonna try to convince you that all 18 of them are right versus the two that actually said thank you. And the group of the 18 is in the wrong. Ain't that something else? Like, how are you mad? Oh, I'm finally getting sleepy, praise the Lord. How are you mad at something like that? It don't even, to me, it doesn't make sense. I know people's logic is different. There are some people who have a similar logic, right? But to me, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can see with your own eyes that the majority is not right, or that the majority is probably about to go off into a space that's going to take them under the sea, right? But you don't say nothing because, well, how would that hurt your experience or hurt the relationship with the majority? It was only a remnant selected. When we look at Micaiah and all the Ahabites, right? It was 400 of them and only one Micaiah. It was 400 of them and only one Micaiah. And Micaiah was the only one that, I believe it was Nebuchadnezzar. Micaiah was the only one. I could get the name wrong concerning the king he was talking to. But he was the only one that he knew would tell him the truth. So that king already knew that the 400 other prophets that he had around him were willing to shuck and jive just to appease whatever it is that he wanted to hear. He already knew that. And he knew that the prophet that would tell him the truth or tell him what he necessarily did not want to hear, he already knew who that one was. But even those 400 tried to convince the one, Micaiah, to change what he was going to say to fit in with what they had already told the king. Ain't that something else? They threatened Micaiah and said, you need to agree with us because we done already confirmed this is that. And we need you to also say this is that. We don't need you going in there and saying this ain't that. And then one of them got so upset that that's not what he did, he ended up slapping him. I guess that was Micaiah starting to count because he ain't responding. He ain't knucking you buck. So he just took the slap. Like it don't matter. I told the truth. What is your slap gonna do? What is your slap gonna do? Micaiah wasn't on that energy. He was on energy of, I'm still going to say what I'm led to say. But even the majority tried to turn him. There's so many people who are willing to be turned for success. Mm-hmm. So many people. They're willing to be turned. They are willing because then they get access to the majority, right? Excuse me, they get a deeper access to the majority. We think that because everybody else agrees, it's right. That's what a lot of people think. Still, when a word don't always confirm that, the word actually goes against that. A word doesn't actually confirm that. We can look at the life of Christ. We can look at Micaiah and Jeremiah or the fruit snacks that, he wanted to buy. The majority does not. Trump, God's selection on the who, what, when, where, and how, right? And then Trump in there. But mama's gotta do what she gotta do, right? I don't know. Maybe you have a different view. I would love to hear it. Share it down in the comments. But majority is not always right. I don't know. I mean, it's coming to me. I really hope that's just a black flag stretch. But I think I'm finally getting sleepy a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to take me some rest. Man, oh man, oh man. This is the way we praise you. Dun, dun, dun. Clap your hands. This is the way we praise.